Welcome to Algebra 2, Lesson 2-3, Linear Equations in Slope-Intercept Form. Our objectives today are to graph linear equations and to write equations of line. For the most part, this should be review so that we can get into some other concepts later on this chapter. Here we go. Let's talk about slope. What is slope? Well, last year we came up with its rise over run. It's the change in the x values over the change in the y values. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which should tell you that I wrote that second one wrong. It's the change in the y over the change in the x. It's the rate of change. It's the increase or decrease. It's the steepness. I think that's a word. All of these different things are used to describe slope in the math world. Now, there are different kinds of slope. Oh, I think I just moved a graph. There we go. There's positive slope, slope that is increasing. There's negative slope that is decreasing. There is zero slope and there is undefined slope. Now, kids get these two messed up all the time. Zero slope. When I am driving across Nebraska or through parts of North Dakota or South Dakota, I have zero slope. There is no increase or decrease. It is flat, so it is a horizontal line. Please don't mess this one up. Undefined slope is when you're driving and you're not actually driving. You are just falling. A vertical line. Finding slope. So we have a formula for finding slope. I gave it to you earlier. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, all that really matters is that the ones that line up, the x and the y that line up, are from the same ordered pair. So as I do this first one, I might start with this first order pair. I'm going to take the y value 2, and right below it, I'm going to put the x value -10, and now I'm going to subtract the other values. I'm going to subtract the other y value, which is a -5, and the other x value from the x, which is just a 4. And now I just start simplifying the expression, and I get 7 over -14. Now, if you leave that, it will be marked wrong. Reduce, simplify, put your answer in lowest terms, and we end up with -1/2. Okay, there are two more. I want you to try both these on your own. Pause the video and complete them on your own. Yes, you should have gotten 0 in both of these at some point. First, on B, you should have gotten 0 divided by 1, which is 0, which means you have a horizontal line, a flat line. Your slope is 0. Don't write undefined, don't write no slope. The slope is 0. Or I suppose you could say no slope. Number C, though, it says 8 divided by 0, and you should learn at this point in time that you can never divide by 0, which eventually we'll talk about in calculus that maybe you can. But for our purposes, you can't, which means it's undefined. This is a vertical line. Okay, there are different types of linear functions. A linear function is a graph, is a function whose graph is a line. You can represent a linear function with a linear equation. A solution would be an ordered pair, such as xy, that makes the equation true. A special form of a linear equation is slope-intercept form. What is slope-intercept form? You should have seen this at one point in time. See if you can get it before I give it to you. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Now, m is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. That is why it is called slope-intercept form. That's typically people's favorite way to see if a linear equation or a linear function, so they can, because it's the easiest way to graph it. So it says, what is an equation of each line? Well, m is 6, that's your slope, and the y-intercept is 0, 5. You want slope-intercept form them, so y equals mx plus b. My m, they already gave it to me. They even said m equals 6, so I have 6x plus your y-intercept. Now, your y-intercept is the y value of the intercept, that is your 5. you end up with y equals 6x plus 5. On this next one, it's kind of hard to see on my board, but you might be able to see it a little bit better on your paper, hopefully. You can see that this intercept right there, if you count that, that looks like it's at -3. So your intercept is at 0, -3. And then if you count the slope between 2 points, I might count it going that way. My rise is up 3, and my run is back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's rise over run. 3, -6. Now you need to reduce that. 3 and -6, you can take a 3 out of both and you get -1/2. Now you're ready to write your equation. Y equals the slope, -1/2 x times, don't forget the x, plus the y-intercept. Because it's a -3 for the y-intercept, you can just put -3. Okay, so sometimes they like to write equations in what we call standard form. We'll talk about that later. But kids don't like to graph them in standard form, so you can rewrite it in slope-intercept form. The only thing that has to happen when you rewrite something in slope-intercept form is you solve for y. This is like the literal equations in chapter 1. We're just going to solve for a different variable. So here's my y. I'm going to solve for that. I'm going to start by subtracting 3x from both sides. I get 2y equals 18 minus 3x. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Now make sure that when you divide both sides by 2, you're dividing the entire right half by 2. And so you can divide both of those chunks, 18 and 3x, by 2. If you leave it like that, I'm going to mark it wrong. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Y equals 9 minus 3 halves x. Now some people prefer to write that because they don't like to have a negative for the first part of their right side of their equation. You can write it as y equals 9 minus 3 halves x, or y equals -3 halves x plus 9. I find that if your slope is negative but your intercept is positive, you are more likely to lose your negative if you rewrite it like this. Just a pattern that I've noticed. So this next one, it says -3/4 x minus 1/2 y equals -1. Now I know that many students do not like fractions. And so actually what I would do with this problem first is get rid of my fractions. So I would look at those denominators 4 and 2. And what I can do to my equation is I can actually multiply both sides of the equation by the same number in order to cancel out those denominators. So I could multiply both sides of them by 4 because that's my biggest denominator, and that would end up getting rid of both of those. So I'm going to multiply this side by 4 and the right side by 4, because as long as I do it to both sides of the equation, I haven't changed the equation. Now when you multiply by 4, you're multiplying both pieces by 4, so you're going 4 times -3/4 x minus 4 times 1/2 y equals -1 times 4, which is -4. Please take the time to remember to distribute that 4 through. Now I see those cancel, I get -3x. I see the 4 and the 2 cancel, I get a 2 left over though, so I have -2 times 1, which is -2y, and all of that equals -4. Now I'm ready to just start doing some very simple basic algebra. I can rewrite it. I can divide both sides by that -2. Y equals -3 halves x. -4 divided by a -2 is a +2. And once again, if you want to rewrite that as y equals 2 minus 3 halves x, that is acceptable as well, since that 2 is positive. Okay, we're getting close. All right, so let's rewrite each. I think we had more to do on those actually. It said also identify the slope and the y-intercept. So when you identify the slope and the y-intercept, let's go back to A. You want to say m equals, and you want to say y-intercept. What's your ordered pair? So your slope is -3 halves in this example for A, and your intercept is 0, 9. Your y-intercept, the x, is always 0. So I actually want you to identify your slope and your intercept here. Just pause the video real fast and do that. And yes, I know it seems super nitpicky to ask you to write that y-intercept as an ordered pair, but it is a point. Please write it like a point, 0, 2. And your m is -3 halves. Okay, so I'm actually going to let you guys do these two, pause the video, you're going to rewrite each one in y-intercept form and then graph it. So I'll start with pausing the video, rewriting each of them. I'll press play and then I'll go through the graphing so you can check your rewritten version with mine. Okay, here are my rewritten forms. Y equals 3/4 x minus 8 and y equals 4/7 x minus 2. To graph them, remember you're going to graph that intercepts, you're going to find that -8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the slope is 3/4, so it's up 3. 1, 2, 3 over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 3 over 4. You can see that that's a positive slope. It's increasing. Now I go graph my other one. My y-intercept's at -2. My slope this time is 4/7, so up and over 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am kind of trying to guess. It's kind of hard to see up here. And I can connect my dots, and those are my 2 lines. All right, that was the end of lesson 2-3 from Algebra 2. Our objectives today were to graph linear equations and to write equations of lines.